Okay, my name's Brianna Smith. I am doing my presentation over the trademark law. I am currently going to school for graphic design with a minor in business, and I figured this would really benefit me knowing the laws of what you can do with designs and logos because that's what I'm probably going to be doing out when I get out of college. So trademark defined. This was a definition from Cornell Law from an article on there. So it says a trademark is any word, name, symbol, or design, or any combination thereof used in commerce to identify and distinguish the goods of one manufacturer or seller from those of another and to indicate the source of the goods. So it's pretty much any word, name, symbol, or device that's capable of being used as a trademark with few limitations. And the mark's eligibility for protection may be limited by the functionality doctrine, and they can be denied registration. These ones I put on this slide are just a few that are really familiar and well-known trademarks like Apple, Nike, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. There's actually a lot, and these ones are just some popular ones that I pulled to show. So numerous parties can actually use the same mark only when the goods of the parties are not similar, so they can't cause any confusion. And so a mark is infringed or trespassed when another person uses a mark to cause confusion as to the source of goods or the services involved. So federally registered marks have nationwide geographic scope and they're protected by the U.S. These marks that I put on this they have like the same type of mark, but their goods are completely different. So they can't confuse the customers. So some trademark examples that I have are so there are name trademarks like Coco Chanel, who is a famous designer. There's symbol trademarks like the McDonald's M, which is a fast food chain, but like it has no name, but people know what the golden arches are. There is catchphrase trademarks, which they're identifiable to a person or a company. So the "You're fired" phrase from Donald Trump from his show The Apprentice would be a catchphrase trademark. There is also figure or mascot trademarks. So the gecko from Geico Insurance Company is recognized nationwide for Geico, and that would be like a little mascot. And then there is also lyrics trademark. And so the phrase "like a rock" by the Silver Bullet Band was used by Chevy, and Chevy actually paid this band to license the trademark for an advertisement they used after bankruptcy in 1991. So these are just some examples of different kinds of trademarks that can be used. Okay, so they have to have distinctive traits to them. So they must be capable of identifying a particular good. So the courts group marks into these 4 categories, and the legal protection depends upon which category it falls within. So there's arbitrary or fanciful, suggestive, descriptive, and generic for all the traits. So the first one is arbitrary or fanciful. So it's a mark that bears no logical relationship to the project. So I gave Kodak and Apple as an example because obviously Kodak doesn't describe cameras or film in any way. Also, is the same with Apple. It's used as the trademark for computers and phones, and Apple does not describe that. And arbitrary is actually given a high degree of protection. And then next we have suggestive, which is so it suggests a characteristic of the good or product. It's not totally related to the product, but it kind of suggests what the product would be about. So Coppertone suggests it's a suntan lotion, but it doesn't directly describe it. So only some imagination is needed to associate the mark with the product, and these products are also given a high degree of protection. Next, we have descriptive. So descriptive could be color, odor, function, dimensions, or ingredients that tell us something about the product. It directly describes rather than suggests the product. And the ones I used would be All Bran, which pretty much describes the Kellogg cereal. Same as Holiday Inn. It's like a inn means hotel, like you're staying in. And this is not inherently distinctive, and it's only protected if they have acquired secondary meaning. They must clear this obstacle and could give a competitor the exclusive right to use the term. So last, for the fourth trait, it would be generic. So this describes the category that the underlying product belongs to. And the generic terms, they're not protected by the trademark law because they identify a product. So my examples are computer and beer, because computer it's a computer, and there's so many different types and brands of computers, and same with beer. And so if you were to give a manufacturer control over one of these terms, it would give them too great of an advantage, and that just wouldn't be fair. So there are also generic terms that cannot be trademarked. So the protection for trademarks, federal and state, it does not need to be registered for the owner to prevent others from using the trademark or using a similar mark. Federal registration provides certain legal advantages to the owner. Federal law preempts state law, so any state registration performed in addition to federal is for purposes of notice only. An advantage would be it provides a constructive notice to the public, which prevents anyone from claiming that they did not know the mark existed. So to get a mark trademarked, it would be good, so then no one else could use something that you have. And then so some more on protection. So the trademark is registered in the class of goods or services that it is used, and it can be federally registered if it is used in interstate commerce. It's possible for owners to have similar trademarks as long as they, 1, goods and services are not related, 2, no consumer confusion to the source of goods, and 3, no dilution of a strong mark. More on protection. So these were listed in an article of Trademark Legal Basics, so I thought it would be good to have some definitions put in here. So controlled licensing, the law permits a trademark owner to license its mark as long as the owner controls the nature and quality of the goods or services bearing the marks. Pursuing infringers is abandonment of a trademark can occur if the owner does not take action against infringers. And then strong marks can claim dilution. So dilution of a mark is a type of infringement in which the infringing use does not necessarily cause confusion, but tarnishes the image or blurs the distinctiveness of the owner's mark. So for the licensing agreement for trademarks, let's see. So the Trademarks Act does not specify the form that the licenses should take, and the law applicable is that governing license agreements in each province. So it says licensing agreements between related parties doesn't have to be complicated. A valid trademark license should provide a method for quality control by the licensor and identify the wares and services the licensee is permitted to use the trademark in association with. So as long as the trademark owner maintains consistent quality, it may license the mark to any number of licenses. So some cases, a license granted by an owner may permit a license to grant sub-licenses. And then, so license to use a trademark doesn't have to be in writing. So it's also recommended that businesses who place value in their trademarks should seek advice of a lawyer with experience to review their intellectual property to have an appropriate trademark licensing strategy. So in absence of a written agreement, the Trademarks Act presumes that a license is deemed to exist when a licensee discloses on its goods that it does not claim ownership of the trademark, that it uses and identifies the owners of the trademark and publicly acknowledges that it uses a trademark under license. So, can you get a trademark after it has been abandoned? This was a question from the Law Journal of the International Trademark Association. Their question was, can a business having abandoned its rights to a trademark prevent a newcomer from bringing the dead mark back to life? So an abandoned mark is available to anyone, first come, first serve. Anyone can rummage through the abandoned marks and find one with commercial appeal to redevelop, sell, or license. Some consumers are drawn to the familiar trademarks and are expecting the same product as before. So this was actually a quote. Unless the newcomer duplicates the original branded product and its quality and notifies the public that it is not connected with the original trademark owner, the use of the mark is almost certain to deceive and confuse the public. So if, let's say, McDonald's was to go out of business, I doubt that would happen, but if it did, and then a long time from now someone decided to use the golden arches, people would automatically think, oh, this is going to be like a fast food restaurant. This is going to be fast food, quick and easy, cheap, and this would totally confuse and deceive the public if it wasn't. So lastly, going off of the slide before this, zombie marks, that's what they've been named. And I read an article about it, and they are marks who are long unused or bring back to life by their original owners. So previously and unquestionably abandoned marks, both factually and legally. So zombie trademarks need to be molded by the Lanham Act and its policy to protect the public from confusion. So the courts recognize that the protection of the public from misleading trademarks is important, because this was a quote from a consumer, and they said, there is something reassuring about finding a brand from the past on the shelf, but if I were lucky enough to find any one of these brands and realize they were not the original formulations, I would be very disconcerted and put off. So people, if a trademark is brought back to life, people are probably going to expect it, if they were familiar with that brand before, they're going to expect it to be similar to it, and it could possibly hurt you, because if you don't meet up to their expectations, you already have some bad baggage. So it is up to the courts in future cases or Congress to take a fresh and comprehensive look at zombie trademarks. So this was pretty much everything I've kind of learned and put together about trademarks that I found interesting. Hopefully this will help me in the long run with designing logos, and hopefully clients I have that have questions. And this was a list of sources I use. So thanks.